Shalom. Today we're going to go over the Hebrew alphabet and the majority of the vowels. If you could take out your sheet that looks like this. Let's see. And you can follow along using this sheet. And this is the workbook that it came from. It's an it's a kind of old Hebrew workbook entitled Mishpacha, which means family. So on these sheets you can see the alphabet, and it gives the name of the alphabet, and it leaves you room to write. So we'll just go down this worksheet. So the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Aleph. That's the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph. Aleph does not make a sound. The only time it appears to make a sound is when a vowel is used with it. So let's say I put in a vowel that makes the sound of under it. Say ah. Let's say I put the vowel sagol under it. Because the vowel sagol makes the sound. So, the Aleph is silent unless it's used with a vowel. The next alphabet is a bait. Bait. It makes the b sound, like in boy, like in bat, or like in the Hebrew word bayit, which means house. B, b, b. And it has this little dot. It's called a dagesh. Okay. Without the dagesh, when you take away the dagesh or the little dot, it makes the v sound, like in van. So this is bait and this is vait. Vait makes the v sound. V like in van. So without the dagesh, it makes the v sound. So Aleph, bait, vait. Aleph has no sound. Bait makes the b sound, and vait makes the v sound, like in van. Next, we have the letter Gamil. Gamil makes the g sound, like in goat. G, g, like in goat. Next is the letter Dalet. Dalet makes the d sound, like in dog. Dalet. Dalet. Next is hey. Hey. Now sometimes hey can get confused with other Hebrew letters like ket, but always remember this. If it's hey, there'll be a little space between this curved line and then this line on this side. It'll be a little space right there. So this is the letter hey, and it makes the h sound like in hat, or like in the word hey, huh. Gamil makes the g sound. Dalit makes the d sound like in dog. And hey makes the h sound like in hat, or like in the word hey. The next letter is Vav. Vav. Vav makes the v sound like in van. Vav. Now, sometimes in books, the hook will be taken off. So sometimes, depending on what book that has Hebrew in it, they'll write the Vav without the hook. But most of the time, this little hook should be there. But this is Vav. It makes the v sound. Vav is also used to form verbs in Hebrew. So we'll get to that a little later. But this is Vav. Next is Zion. Zion. Zion makes the z sound like in zoo. Z. Or like in its actual name, Zion. Z. Zion. The next alphabet is Ket. Ket. So Ket looks similar to the hay. But remember, the difference is with the cat, all the lines are connected. There is no space at all. And the cat makes the h sound. You come from your throat. H, like in the word challah, which is a type of bread that the Jewish make or the Israelis make. But it has the h sound like in challah. H. Next is the letter tet. Tet. Tet makes the t sound like in toy, or like in the word tet itself. T, 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 tet. The next letter is yod. Yod. Yod makes the y sound like in yo-yo, like in Yahweh. Yah. Yod is also used to form some Hebrew vowels. So we'll get to that later. This is ket. It makes the h sound. Tet makes the t sound. Yod makes the y sound. Next is the letter Kaf. Kaf has a dagesh in the middle of it. When you see a Kaf with the dagesh in the middle, or this little dot, then it makes the K sound. K, like in kite, like in kitten. K. When you see the Kaf without the dagesh, it makes a h sound, like the cat does. H, like in kala. H. Also, this is one of the Hebrew words that have Hebrew letters, that have a final form. This is the Kaf sofit. So in order, if I wanted the cough sound at the end of a Hebrew word, I wouldn't use this letter. I would use this one at the end of it. It would still make the same sound. It just would be used at the end. So if I needed a K sound at the end of a word, this is what I would use at the end of a Hebrew word. So you have chaf that makes the ch sound with the dagesh. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. It doesn't make the chaf sound with the dagesh. It makes the K sound, like in kitten. So k. So with the dagesh, the kaf makes the K sound, like in kitten. K. Without the dagesh, it makes the ch sound, like in kala. And the kaf sofit makes the ch sound. And it will be used at the end of a word if that sound is needed. So I'm sorry about that. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. I'll go over it one more time. With the dagesh, the kaf makes the k sound. The dagesh is just meaning this dot. It makes the k sound like in kite. Without the dagesh, it makes the k sound that comes from your throat. And this is the final kaf. It makes the same sound, k, like in kala, except it would be used at the end of a Hebrew word if that sound was needed. Next is lamid. Lamid makes the l sound, like in lollipop, like in lay, lamid. Next letter is mem. Mem. Mem makes the sound, like in mom, like in mop. Mem has a final form, and it's called a mem sofit. It's shaped like a box, except the line comes a little past here. Let me draw it again. Okay. This is mem sofit, or the final form of mem. So it makes the sound too. It makes the same sound as the regular looking mem. Mem sofit. Except if a word needs an M sound at the end of it, this final form of mem would be used. So lamid, like in lollipop. Mem makes the sound like in mop. Mem sofit makes the sound like in mop also. Next is noon. This is noon. Let's see. Okay. Noon. Noon makes the n sound, like in nap, like in nice. N. Noon also has a final form, the noon sofit. Noon sofit. It makes the same sound as the noon. N. N. Except the only difference is if a word needs an N sound at the end of it in Hebrew, then this is the form that would be used at the end of the word. Next is the letter Samek. Samek. Samek makes the S sound like in snake. Samek. So this is noon. It makes the N sound like in nap. Noon Sophie makes the N sound like in nap also. This is Samek. It makes the S sound like in snake. This is the letter Ayin. Ayin does not make a sound. The only time it makes a sound is when there's a vowel attached to it. But the letter itself is silent, just like the olive. So Ayin does not make a sound. Next, you have pay. Pay. Pay makes the P sound, like in pay, like in paper. Pay. And it has a dagesh, or a dot, right there in the middle, which is called a dagesh. So when you see that in this letter, it makes the P sound. Without the dagesh, it makes the F sound. This is the letter Fe. This is pay with the dagesh. Without the dagesh, the letter is Fe, and it makes the F sound, like in fun, like in fair. And Fe has a final form. So if a Hebrew word needs a F sound at the end of it, then the Fe Sophite would be used. Ayin does not make a sound. Pay makes the P sound, like in pay. Without the dagesh, you have the letter Fe, which makes the F sound, like in fun. Final form of Fe is Fe Sophite. It also makes the F sound. Next letter is Zadeh. 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 Zadeh makes the T sound, like in the word cats. Really though, you end up really just hearing the S. So I would just focus on it making the S sound. But the example that's always used for it most of the time as far as the sound is it makes the sound of the TS at the end of the word cats. So I would just say it makes the S sound because that's really all you hear. So this is today, and it makes the sound like at the end of the word, like the TS at the end of the word cats. Then it has a final form. So that's Sophie. So if you needed that ts sound at the end of a Hebrew word, this is the form of it that would be used. This is Sadeh. This is Sadeh Sophie. Next is the letter Kuf. Kuf. Kuf makes the K sound, like in cat, like in kitten. Okay. This letter is Resh. Resh. It makes the R sound, like in rag, like in ray, or like in the word resh itself. Really, you're supposed to roll your tongue when you say the word, or when that word is in a word, you're really supposed to roll your tongue. So you're supposed to say resh. And if it is in a word, you actually still supposed to roll it. But a lot of people in today don't roll it in Hebrew. So you can just focus in remembering that it's resh and that it makes the R sound like in English. Ruh. But if you want to practice doing it, rolling your tongue, that's fine too. So this is Sedeh, Sedeh Sofi, Kuf, and Resh. This is the letter Shin. It makes the sh sound like in show, like in shop. Shh. When you see the dagesh to the right of it, then you know that that is the Shin. When you see the same letter with a dagesh on the opposite side, then you know that's a sing. The letter sing. So when the dagesh is to the right, it's sheen. When it's to the left, it's sing. When it's to this side, it makes the sh sound. That's the letter sheen. And when it's to the opposite side, it makes the s sound like in snake. Last but not least is the letter tav. Tav with the dagesh or without the dagesh makes the t sound. T, like in toy. Like in Tamar. T. So this is sheen, seen, tav. T, tav, t. Sheen makes the sh sound. Seen makes the s sound. Tav makes the t sound. With or without the dagesh. T. So we will go over our vowels. So we'll go over our vowels next. The first vowels we'll go over is the patak and the kamats. Okay. Both of these vowels make the ah sound. The patak and the kamats make the ah sound. The sagol makes the eh sound. So it looks like three dots shaped in the form of a triangle. It makes the eh sound. Eh. So this makes the ah sound. This makes the eh sound. Next, I'm going to just draw a box so you can see the placement of the vowel. So let's pretend this box is a letter. It's just used to, I'm just using it right now to position the vowel. So if this dot is under a letter, it makes the I sound. I. Almost like you're saying it, but you are not. I. And I'm just using the boxes so we can have the correct placement of the vowel. But what you'll be seeing are these vowels connected with letters, with Hebrew letters. So the next vowel is a dot with a yod at the side corner. So when you have a dot under a letter and then a yod at the direct side corner of it, it makes the E sound. E. This vowel makes the E sound. This dot connected with this yod. Next, we're gonna use the valve. Valve with a dot over it makes the O sound. O. Or if you have a letter with a dot over it, that also makes the O sound. So valve with the dot over it makes the O sound. A letter with a dot over it also can be used to make the O sound. And we're just using these rectangular boxes to show the correct placement of the vowel. So if I have a line with a yod at the top corner, then that makes the I sound like in tie. I. If a line is under the letter and a yod is to the side of it, then that vowel that's being used makes the sound I. Last but not least, we'll go over the oo sound. So if you write a yod, put a dot in the middle, this makes the oo sound. Ooh. Or, and we're just using these rectangular boxes for placement, if you have three diagonals, three dots going in a diagonal direction under a letter, it also makes the ooh sound. When you are a beginner learning Hebrew, it helps to learn your aleph bet and the sounds of your aleph bet and your vowels and the sounds of your vowels. Now later on when you advance in Hebrew, you won't any longer use, you won't need these. But in the beginning, most people need them to help learn their Hebrew. So it helps a lot when you're having to teach yourself Hebrew and then family members and other people. It helps to know your aleph bet and your vowels. It'll also I found help you pronounce words more correctly. So I'm going to give you some examples. So let's take the word bait of how to learn to read your Hebrew. And you can find words in Hebrew words written in the language with the vowels, and it help you learn how to pronounce it better than trying to read the English transliteration is what I found. So let me show you how to do that. And when you see me do it, it'll kind of remind you of when you were teaching your child how to read or when you yourself were learning how to read. So let's take the letter bait. Let's take the letter bait. Let's put the I under it. B, I, ba. B, I, ba. Let's put this I under it. B, I, ba. Let's put the air under it. B, e, be. Okay, y'all, it's not showing up. So let's put the dot with the yod. B, e, b. B, e, b. B, o, bo. B, o, bo. B, I, ba. B, oo, boo. So that's just one example of how to read your Hebrew, how to practice the sound of the letters in combination with the vowels. So I use another example. Let's use the letter Gamil. Let's put the A under it. G, A, Ga. G, A, Ga. G, E, Ge. G, E, Gi. G, E, Gi. G, E, Gi. Let's see. I'm going to write a word in Hebrew. Okay. I'm going to write a sentence on the board from this book. And try to do it quickly. Okay. So these are actually Hebrew words, an actual Hebrew sentence from a beginner's Hebrew workbook. So you see the kaf with the dagesh that makes the k sound. You see the vowel under it. This is one of the vowels we didn't go over. But these two dots side by side make the eh sound, just like the three dots going diagonal. So this makes the eh sound. This is the noon Sophie. So this is how I would pronounce this. I know that the cough makes the k sound. K. I know these two dots side by side make the S sound. K, E, K. I know the noon Sophie makes the n sound. K, E, K, n. Cane. Cane. And cane in Hebrew means yes. But I was trying to demonstrate how you would sound it out. Just like when you were learning English words and how you would just take it letter by letter, vowel by vowel, and sound it out. Well, Hebrew, the same thing. Except you're reading from right to left, and normally your vowels are kind of down and sometimes instead of side by side, but use the same method. K, E, N, cane. Next, remember the iron does not make a sound, but it has a vowel next to it. The vav with the dot in the middle makes the ooh sound. Then you have a resh. You have a resh with a dot at the bottom and a yod at the top. We learned that makes the e sound. So ooh, and then the resh with the e, or e. Ooh, ri, uri. I'll do that again. Ooh, and then the resh with the e, re, ooh, re. That's the name, child's name, Uri. Now, let's pronounce this word. We have a bait, b, with an ah vowel under it. Another bait with an ah vowel under it. And then we have a yod with a I vowel under it. And then we have a tav. So let's pronounce it. B, a, ba. B, a, ba. Yit. Ba, ba, yit. Ba, ba, yit. So what that means is in the house. Kain, uri, ba, bait. Yes, uris, and ba means in the, bait means house. Yes, uris in the house. And so I hope that this has been helpful. It makes it easier to learn your Hebrew if you have to on your own, because we don't all have teachers in our area or people who may be able to teach us our Hebrew. So a lot of us end up having to teach ourselves and then to teach our families. And so this is one good way to do it, is by learning your vowels and learning your Hebrew alphabet. And you can use your worksheets and just practice. But I wish you well in learning. I'll put some other resources to help you on your way in the description box of this video. For anybody else who watches this video, it was done for our Noah Sisterhood skills classes. Noah meaning Nation of Israel. Sisterhood skills classes, with the idea that that sisters can learn their Hebrew and teach their children or teach their siblings, or teach themselves and then help others to learn. Awesome. Shalom, shalom.